All right, all right, all right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of What Drives You. I am your co-host, Stan Windhorn. With me, as always, is my good buddy and co-host, Carl Bauer. Carl, say hello to everyone.
Hey everybody, did you do that McConaughey thing because you're in Austin? Is
I
that why
did.
you did that?
Yeah, yeah. I thought I'd bring a little Austin flavor. Thank you for noticing that. All
Yes,
right, all right, all right.
no problem.
Did I
Well,
ever
we
tell
have a
you when I
super.
ran into him and I thought he was a homeless person?
You did tell me that. We could talk
Yeah,
about that. Tell David that. We
that's another
have
story.
we we have a super special guest. We've been trying to get together for a while now. He had a little bump on his Achilles, so he could talk about that because we're all three hoopers here. But David Long, thank you so much for joining us today.
Guys, my pleasure. I'm glad to be here, Carl, and good to see you, Stan.
Likewise.
Well, everyone who is watching may not know who David Long is. David Long is sort of the OG godfather, in my opinion, of vehicle acquisition. And if you're not from our industry, what that means is how do I find used cars to replenish my supply? Obviously, trade ins are typically your number one, but that's changing. David can touch on that in a minute. There's auctions, but the real secret sauce, which he will hopefully delve into a little bit, is private party acquisition, people who are trying to sell their cars on their own through marketplace, through eBay, or through wherever. So David, welcome. And maybe let's start at the beginning because I was kind of looking at your LinkedIn again just to refresh myself. I did not know you're a Florida boy. Started out at the old Lincoln store back
I
in the day.
did. That's where I met my wife 30 years ago. That's where we started our family in Clearwater, Florida. 30 years ago.
That's a far cry from Northern Cal, isn't it?
Can't get much farther than Northern California from
One
Clearwater
tip of the
Beach.
country to the other.
That's it.
So
That's
how
it.
did you get? I know you're a military guy, or at least my memory is. How did you get into the car business? Let's kind of go back to the beginning and tell us how you got in the biz.
It wasn't very glamorous. My brother had a used car lot, and I wanted to work there, but he and I didn't. We were better brothers than we were working with each other. So I went to Florida and I started in detail at Furman Oldsmobile. I don't know if that name rings a bell.
Mm-mm.
It's a 100-year-old company in Tampa.
Yeah.
Wonderful people.
Yeah,
And
they're still around, right?
oh yeah, Jim
Yeah,
Furman.
yeah. I
Yeah,
trained some of the Furman stores in the past. Yeah, I know Furman.
great people. Funny story, full circle. So I start in detail. Every time I brought up a car, I asked if I could sell, and they're like, "Get back in detail, you savage!" Right? No, you can't sell for us. And I just kept every time I came up, I wanted to sell, and finally, timing was right, and they gave me my first sales job, and that's where it all started. And now here, so what is that? 35, maybe? Yeah, 35 years later, Jim Furman texts me and says, "Congratulations." With my career. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's real cool.
Hmm.
Real
So yeah,
cool.
that he remembers. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So you get in the business because your brother kind of led the way a little bit or paved the way. When did you realize? And we're going to try and cover a lot of ground here. So my
Sure.
apologies if I'm a
All right.
fast
Let's
forward
go.
a little bit. But you actually owned a Ford dealership at one point where
I
it had
did. Yeah.
ownership levels. So tell us about how you got into that ownership role.
So from detail, I can remember thinking one day I'm going to own my own dealership. And yeah, I just salted away and saved and was a salesperson. I don't know if you guys remember Carlisle Lincoln Mercury back in the day. Number one dealership in the country. I mean, we would sell 100 Grand Marquis a month. Just
Mm.
think about that. That's a lot of cars on Grand Marquis. So was the number one salesperson there, made an awful lot of money, and then they were bought by AutoNation. And when I got with AutoNation, I thought, well, maybe I'll go into management. So I did and became an executive general manager with AutoNation and accumulated some wealth and then found a partner and bought one of the largest Ford stores in the country. And that was my first ownership experience.
Yeah, and it's not the ownership having. I haven't owned a franchise. I had a buy-in at a Nissan store more recently, but owning an independent lot is. I always tell people when business is good. It's a great, fun business to be in. When something happens in economy, 9/11, not so fun, just because when the cars stop selling and the service ROs stop rolling, the bills do not stop coming. So
No,
it's sort of
yeah.
feast or famine biz.
Yeah, we're very blessed to be in a great market, and really never went through a lot of the famine. So it was
Where is that Ford store, David?
in Sarasota.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was a
So
short ownership period. It wasn't very long. My partner went into politics, and I supported obviously everything in the direction he went. But I think politics and auto business were not meant for each other. At least that was my feeling at the time.
So then your partner goes into politics. How do you end up in California, where you and I kind of met?
So, yeah, after selling the dealership, my family and I moved to North Carolina. Thought I'd be a little bit removed, do some consulting, maybe run a store. And then I got an offer in California, and I thought, heck, I've never lived in California. I think that'd be kind of fun. So we moved out here 13 years ago, and it has been an amazing experience. That's how
Yeah.
I got here.
It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Other than the tax bills, I would probably move there myself. Stan actually kind of started his TV and radio career down in Southern California.
The whole state. It's a beautiful state. I mean,
I like it.
I've not been to one place in California that I didn't think was beautiful.
So we've had both, ironically, we've had both of the founders of one of our favorite companies and products, Vehicle Acquisition Network, on the program. Both Bill and Tommy have been on. And I would say in the last 5 to 7 years, you have been such a blessing and a boost, an evangelist for their business. So tell us a little bit about that relationship, but also when you figured out, like, man, I better figure out this acquisition thing because the trade-in volume is going downhill real quick.
And can I interject something before you answer,
Please.
David? And
Yeah,
the reason I
please.
want to do this is because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are not in the automobile industry who don't quite understand how important acquisition of used vehicles is to the industry. And neither did I. When I started at TrueCar, I was brought on to help develop what was called the Vehicle Purchase Program, where dealers could buy cars from USAA members. And this is when I realized, and this is, man, what, is it 16, 17 years ago? I had no idea how much of an importance it was for car dealers to source quality used inventory. In fact, it wasn't that many years prior where I had a trade-in, a Toyota Tundra. I was going to buy a new Tundra. They couldn't offer, they didn't want to offer me what CarMax was offering me. They said, yeah, go ahead and sell your car to them and then come buy the car from us, which is what I did. And I mean, those days are just long gone. So for those of you who are tuned in, what David's about to talk about is such a crucial part of a car dealer's ability to sustain and profitability and everything. Every car dealer in this country needs quality used inventory for their dealerships, and this is what David has specialized in and helped develop. So I just kind of wanted to give the listeners a better idea of what you're talking about and why it's so significant to the industry. So
I'm happy to do it. So I have an acquisition wheel. It looks like a radio dial, and it dials into all the different acquisition channels, is what I call it, just like the old days of tuning in a radio. By the way, TrueCar leads through USAA were the highest converting leads I had in my very first buy center. And why that pleased me so much is one, the association with USAA and my family's military background. And two, Carl Liebert. Do you remember that name?
oh yeah, I haven't heard that one in a while.
He was the president of USAA at the time, and he and I
Yeah.
played with and against each other when he played for Navy in 1984.
Wow.
That gives you an idea how old I am. So, TrueCar USA leads fantastic, but I'll tell, if it's okay with you, Carl, I'll tell where the buy center philosophy
Yeah.
and acquisition came from. So we were leaving California to move to Kansas, and don't ask me why, but we were moving to Kansas. That's another story for another program. I was called by a guy, a headhunter, and said, you have to meet this guy named Sean Del Grand. Name ring a bell? I think that's
Very
where
much
you and
so.
I actually met.
Yep.
I'd love to meet him. He sounds like a wonderful human, but I'm moving to Kansas. You got to go meet him. So I meet him, and we have an immediate bromance, right? Just like we're finishing each other's sentences. The energy's good. I think he has
Same
that
here.
with everybody, by the way. But
Yeah.
like it was crazy. And I'm like, man, I'm walking down the hall in his upstairs office in San Jose. And he says, hey, Dave, we're done. Our conversation's over. I'm leaving. We high five, we hug, like we knew each other forever. And I'm leaving. I'm down the hallway, and I'll never forget it. He says, hey, Dave, come on back here. I just got an idea. He said, why don't you be my used car director? And I was, that's funny. I'm not even a good used car operator, and I've never even been a used car manager. I would never be able to be your used car director. You know what he said? We'll figure it out. It will be fun. That's what he said. We'll figure it out. It'll be fun. And I hitched my wagon at that point to Dale Pollock. And for some strange reason, Dale put me under his wing. And there I was, a used car director for 16 franchise stores without knowing anything, which turned out to probably be my biggest strength, right? Because I didn't have preconceived ideas. I didn't think I had it figured out. And I'll never forget it. It was like an epiphany, like a burning bush. I was at the auction. I was at San Francisco, Manheim, San Francisco. I can't remember what it was called back then, 13 years ago. But I saw all my buyers from all 16 stores, and I see everybody smiling and raising their hand and smiling and raising their hand, and they'd get one, and I'd see them go, right, like, uh-oh, probably didn't want to win that one, right? And then I started bifurcating all my inventory. That's where the acquisition channels came from. So every car that comes into a channel was measured days to average cost to market, market day supply, days to sale, front gross, back gross, total gross, trade capture rate, estimated recon versus actual recon, all the stuff in each channel. And it did not take me long with my new eyes to look at the auction channel and think, my trade capture rate's not that great. My front end margins are in the red. It's not even profitable. It doesn't make any sense. I was like, Sean, how could this make sense? Like, how could go being at an auction with 50 other people bidding on the same cars, the clipboard kids and the people buying cars for private party? Like, how in the world could this make sense? It doesn't make sense. Look at this. And then I show them the data. Doesn't make sense. We can't come here anymore. And finally I said, that's it. We're not buying cars for our company anymore at the auction. Think about it. 16 stores selling 400 or 500 cars a month, which wasn't a lot. So we opened our very first buy center. He said, what's a buy center? I said, no, but you told me we could figure it out. And that's how it started. I'll never forget, upstairs in one of those little rooms at DGDG, I had a phone, a computer, and Craigslist. And I started just calling people, trying to figure out how to buy cars. My first month, I bought 11 cars. And we got that to 250, and we stopped going to auctions. And that was the one channel that produced the biggest return on time and the biggest return on investment, meaning best cost to market, best days to sale, best front, best back, best trade capture. And I fell in love 13 years ago. And I've opened, by the way, do you know how many I've opened since then?
I do not.
At least one more.
98.
Oh,
Last week was the 98. It was 2 weeks ago, the 98th buy center.
Wow.
That's awesome. What an amazing accomplishment. And what's the old saying, Carl? I think you taught me this, that at the auction, if you win the bid, you're just the biggest loser or something.
The
I don't
first
remember what
biggest
we
loser,
say,
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's clear, right? Like I don't know any dealer in the country that can really take a look and bifurcate their inventory by channel and look at it long and hard, how much time it took to get the car, all the downside, all the arbitration, all the energy, and really be able to look at themselves and say, that makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
So that's how you got to the buy center. How did you get to be such a close confidant with Bill and Tommy? that vehicle acquisition network?
That's a great question. I wish you would have asked me. Wish you would have prepared me before the call.
No.
I know it's probably the best question you could have asked. So what I noticed in the first buy center is we would have big days. We'd fill the funnel. We'd have big purchase days. I mean, big, like 7, 8, 9, 10 cars. And then the next day we'd have 1 or 2. And then we'd have 7 or 8. And then we'd have 1 or 2. And what I had to solve for is I couldn't keep the funnel filled while we were buying cars. So just think about this for a minute. We'd fill up the funnel. Customer could get in and out in 45 to 60 minutes. But when you buy 8 cars and you're closing at 75%, which is, I think, a pretty good closing ratio. So 75% of the set appointments would show, 75% of the shown appointments would transact. But when you have 3 or 4 people buying 250 cars, they don't have the time to fill the appointment list for the following day when they're busy transacting all day. So I was just looking for a resource that could help me fill the funnel passively and reach out to marketplace and Facebook customers on my behalf when my team was buying cars. So then it took the lows out. We would have a high and a low. What it did was it sort of flattened it out for me to make the passive connection with the consumer easier for my team to keep up with tasks. Does that answer your question? So that's when I first met them. And they've been with me in most of the 98 buy centers for 13 years.
That's awesome.
So just so to kind of turn this into layman's terms, basically what their software does is it goes out to anywhere out on the internet in the US that has private party listings for sale. That would be Craigslist, that would be Facebook Marketplace, that would be cars, anywhere. And they try and scrape those up and then turn them into data and send them back to the dealership. If they're on the DIY program, if they're on the full service program, they will actually, with AI and their call center people, set appointments to fill up, as David said, those valleys, so that it's really just they're out there getting appointments for people to show up and sell their cars. And what I love about it, and that's where Stan and I and you are long lost brothers in the acquisition part, is we would with the vehicle purchase program, we would tell dealers, like, you have no transportation costs, you got no auction fee, you got a story, you got books, you got records. This person is bringing you, and by the way, 30% of the time they buy a different car from you. Even though they were only going to sell you a car, they buy a car. So it's just a brilliant model. And when I left to come back home, we were at what, Stan, like 650, 700 units a month across the country. You guys grew it further, but just a great way to make people who are really just trying to liquidate a piece of inventory for whatever reason, fast, easy, transparent, friendly, right? Because they're most likely in your neighborhood. They're most likely in your community. So what a better way to help them and make some money for the dealership and fill your funnel, as you said.
You bring up a good point, Carl. In fact, David, I'd like to get your perspective on this. A lot of times on this podcast, we talk about things from our side, from the business side of it, but from the consumers, or in this case, the sellers part of it. Why do you think, I mean, a 75% show rate and a 75% transaction rate of the people who show, is any dealer in the world would die for those kinds of numbers. So obviously you were doing something right that made that consumer feel comfortable, which is usually a big part of this in the car business. We've got to make these people feel comfortable, got to make them feel welcome. We've got to make them believe that they're being treated fairly. But what's your perspective on why the people were so willing to sell their cars to one of your buy centers from the consumer's mindset?
Well, it's iterated and evolved a lot since the beginning. It started with just outreach, just a structured, disciplined approach to the outreach. My main philosophy, which is really kind of my secret sauce, is it's not my job to tell you you're wrong as a consumer. What most dealers, I don't know if, and you guys would know this better than anybody, what most dealers do is they try to do database convincing or evidence-based conversations. A customer that's advertising their car, they don't care what our evidence says and they don't care what we think. What they need to know is that when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, trying to sell it on their own, that I am the best port in their storm. That's all they need to know. Don't need to try to close them on the phone. I don't need to try to tell them their car's worth 10,752 because the market said it was, or Kelly or TrueCar says. It's none of that. So my whole philosophy, and the reason why there's 92 or 90, I'm sorry, 98 buy centers. Did I say 92? It's 98.
98. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason there's 98 buy centers, and some of which are averaging 30 to 50 cars per buyer, is because we don't need to be right. We just need to be there when the customer finds that they're wrong. Super simple, just not easy.
Well, Stan, that goes along a lot with what you talked about, even at TrueCar on the lead side of it. It's that trust, right? That transfer of trust. If they know you're a port in the storm, they know you're a trustworthy place, your checks are going to clear, your money's good, no hassle, no pressure, just we're here when you're ready. That's brilliant. And I think that makes people not only feel comfortable, Stan, but feel safe.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was sort of my whole philosophy in the, the hundreds, if not thousands of dealers that I trained, is to put yourself in that consumer's standpoint. They don't, they've got their guard up already because they're dealing with a car dealer. So people will naturally have their guard up. And what I try to teach people is how to bring that guard down, make that person feel comfortable with you. Sales 101 says people buy from those that they like and they trust. And it's the same thing when they're selling their car to somebody. They want to walk away feeling like, you know what, that was a good experience and I was treated fairly. That was kind of the whole premise of what I would teach. And it sounds to me, David, that that's a big part of the philosophy behind having 98 acquisition centers.
It's similar. Here, there's no doubt. Like, why would somebody advertise their car for sale by owner? Especially when they drive through a city that every 8 miles it says we buy cars.
Right.
Come here, flashing lights, gorillas, wind socks, right? We're going to buy your
Yep.
car. We're going to pay you more than everybody on the planet. If they wanted to sell their car to a dealer, they wouldn't have advertised it for sale by owner, and they wouldn't have kept it listed for 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So my philosophy comes from a completely different place, which is counterintuitive for old car dealers like me. Remember, 42 years. My coach tells me all the time, David, it's not what you don't know that's hurting you. It's what you do know. So the skill set that I brought to the buy center was the wrong skill set. It's like English versus metric. I came with my English tools trying to use on metric components, and it just didn't work. So I hired this is true. I hired 2 MBAs from MIT that A/B tested everything for me, and we created a product in that roll-up door in downtown San Jose. It was like a garage, and we sold that product and that technology to Carvana. So I really, like, I didn't just wake up one morning and think, I know I'm going to put a buy center sign on my wall. I'm going to get KBB and TrueCar and I'm going to buy a bunch of cars. It's a completely different approach than anything that you'll probably ever hear anywhere else.
So now that you're at 98, well, first and foremost, you're still doing this. Is this part of your day job or is this your consultant side? Like, how do people find you and then hire you? And then are you kind of like A to Z where you're like, if you don't do it my way, you're not part of the team? Or do you know what I mean? Or do you put some flexibility in there? Like, okay, I want you to do it this way, but if you do it this other way, you might fail, you might make it. How does your
so this is my hobby. So I don't know if you can see, but baseball, basketball, my kids, my grandkids. When my son graduated, you can see him in the back, and my daughter doesn't travel the country with the horses anymore. I needed a hobby. So I started David J. Long Consulting, and I can work with and do every single week 16 dealers. I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I do my workout. I start my dealer calls at either 4 or 5 a.m. and I have 3 to 5 a day. So three, but there are days where I'll have 5 if I need a makeup session. But I do that every single day, 5 days a week. And yes, to answer your question, Carl, you can go do it a different way, but we'll do a discovery call. And if you like what we're hearing, we're going to go that way. There's not a buffet approach where try it a little bit your way, try it a little bit my way. Because once I put my name on you, we got to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's
Well,
your way and
I
my way, I can't really
it,
judge whether we're going to win. What?
it would seem counterproductive to bring you in and then not listen to the advice and the experience that you're bringing to the table anyway. So
Well, imagine having a hobby and having somebody say, no, you got to golf left-handed now. Like, this is my
mm,
hobby. This is the way I do it. If you want me to be your guy, I'll be your guy. Now, I sign people up for 3 months at a time. Most of my clients have been with me for 3 years, and I'm not that nice of a coach. Like, you get homework every week. Like, if you're in, you got to be in. If you don't do your homework, like, that doesn't work for me. It's so because I'm not a vendor, right? If you decide you don't want to participate, then go participate with someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And that leads me to kind of your other little hobby, which is not little so much anymore. And Stan, I don't know if you've ever dabbled in the clubhouse sphere, these kind of community conversation brought. It's almost like a clubhouse, right? It's almost like a community radio show that people can participate. So, David, tell us about how you got into that, how people can find out about it. I know it's more automotive oriented, I think, but that intrigues me that you still have time to fit even that in, where hundreds of people are tuning in every, was it Friday mornings?
Every Friday morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell us about how you found that.
So 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I do what we call a show, and it happens to be hosted on a platform called Clubhouse. It's free to anybody that wants to join. You can dial in and either just listen in the listening lounge, or you can come up on stage and give your 2 cents, ask questions, participate, be engaged. But get this, episode 230 last week. We've
Wow.
not missed an episode in 230 weeks. And there's 500 listeners live every Friday morning, which is pretty cool. I think it's the best kept secret. Where else can you go and have the best, and I could name them, the best auto retailers on planet Earth, the best vendor partners on planet Earth telling you best practices and what they see as being what wins for dealers for free. You don't have to buy an airplane ticket. You don't have to buy a hotel room or a rental car. You pop in your underwear, put an earpiece in if you want, and you listen to the brightest people in the auto industry talk about how to be better.
Yeah.
What could be better than that? It's incredible.
you had me at underwear. Just kidding. Just kidding. Where do people tune into that, David? People,
I don't know
and
if
when
you'll
I
have
mean by people is me. How do I tune in on that?
well, now that we're connected, formally connected, I'll send you the link. But like
I would
this
love that.
Friday, it's Diego Vargas, Jason Rice, Brian Kramer, John
Oh my
Ellis.
gosh.
And we're just going to talk about lead handling, how to take care of leads, and how, human beings that want to buy a car, especially human beings that want to buy a car that no longer exists in your inventory. Like, it's going to be some fire. And then Saturday morning, Jonathan Dawson and um, Kyle Disher and I have a pop-up room at the same place, and we're going to talk about I can't remember what they have scheduled, but it's going to be really good.
My
And
man Kyle Disher. I love Kyle.
He's the Swiss Army knife of auto.
Isn't he? Yeah, Kyle is a great guy. Well, listen, if I would not only would I love to listen in, but I kind of specialized on lead handling for a number of years. If I can ever offer any of my insights on that, I would be honored to participate. So
You're
please let
in.
me know.
Stan, be careful what you ask for. Friday morning at 6 o'clock. I'm going to expect you in there. You're my sixth man.
That's
oh
eight
boy.
o'clock my time, man. That's no problem.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm calling on you. If
All
you
right.
text me back and say you're coming, you're going to be part of the host group, and you're going to help people understand how do you take care of customers.
Yeah.
Stan,
All right.
this seems like an amazing, like if you had this when you were leading all the lead stuff for TrueCar, to get these type of, it's almost like a giant 20 group almost, right? Like
Yeah.
you're in
It
there
really
and
is.
that's
It's a great way to put it. There's a
Yeah.
sponsor for the show every week. This week we have 3 sponsors. One of them is Van Vehicle Acquisition Network. I don't know if you knew that. The
Nope.
next is Kyle Disher's Rev Dojo, which I happen to use for all my mystery shop, all my LMS training material, and my phone
Yeah.
scripts. Kyle does that. And then the third one is Curtis Lucy, and he's with Dealer Cards. I don't know if you've heard of them, but those three sponsors are fantastic. And I know that I probably shouldn't have plugged them on
No, no.
this show, but those guys and their companies are awesome.
Yeah, dealer card I've heard of. I forget in what instance though. I heard, and it's been a while since I've heard of them. But yeah, we're just this is episode 89 for us, David. So thank you for being part of it. And in respect for your time, let's stand to our rapid fire questions. But before that, I just wanted to say we're not sponsored by anybody, so you can plug whoever, whenever. It don't matter. We love it.
Good.
Yeah,
All right.
and David, I'm deadly serious sounds awful serious, but I'm genuinely would be very interested in joining in on that with you guys.
You can
That would
find
be
the link
awesome.
either through our text or you can find the link on LinkedIn. My team of it's called All Things Used Cars.
Okay.
That team will post it everywhere. And it all birthed, by the way, Carl, out of an idea I had during the pandemic. It was called the Pandemic of Positivity,
Yeah, I saw that.
which still is around the whole globe. You'll see these yellow circles around people's profile, and it's meant to remind people. It says compassion, kindness, and love. It's meant to remind us, like, not much more is important than being compassionate to our fellow man, be kind, even if you don't agree with them, and find a way to be loving. So that's where it all birthed out of.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Thanks,
Beautiful.
guys.
All
All right,
right, well,
rapid
we're going to go
fire.
to our section. Are you ready for some rapid fire questions, David?
I bet maybe I better take a drink. Yeah, I'm ready.
I hope that's Red Bull because these come fast.
Let's
Just
go.
kidding. All right, so what was your first car? What was the first car you ever owned?
It's funny. I'm putting my first book together. It's called Step Zero, and my publisher was saying, "Really? You had a 1973 Chevy Malibu station wagon with the speedometer broke at 185,000 miles that used more oil than gas, and you lived in it?" That was my first car.
All right, well, that sounds like special memories. Okay, what has been your favorite car that you've ever owned?
It was a 6 Series BMW that I bought from Jermaine Dupree. And he just had this thing just murdered. It was just beautiful. That was probably my favorite.
All right, and final rapid fire question. Money's no object, whatever you want. What would be your dream vehicle? What would be like your fantasy vehicle?
Um, the Bentley GT Speed, convertible, tan leather, white exterior, just something to be really comfortable in Northern California. That's it.
Nice. All
Mhm.
Is
right,
that the
thanks
one
for
that
answering
has
those, Carl. You want to move on to our words of wisdom?
yeah, on the Bentley though? Is that the one that has the umbrellas like in the door jams
I don't
that
know if
pop?
they have that. I think that's more in the Ghost and the
Okay.
Rolls product, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool. Like in each door stand, there's an umbrella
Push a button, it
Yeah.
comes out.
pops out.
Yeah, I saw that in Ben's Rolls Royce SUV too.
Oh,
They
did they
had
have
the
this one?
Yeah, those are
little
cool.
yeah.
All right, so this is our words of wisdom, David, and I think a lot of people who do hang around in these long form videos kind of want to, and we chop them up a little bit too. So you got to be profound. I hope you're ready for that. But it's what would you tell some words of wisdom to 18-year-old David? And probably for you, it's more day to day because you got young children still at home in that age group. Like, what do you wish you knew then that you know now?
Whoa, 18-year-old David was homeless. 18-year-old David had a chemical dependency issue. And now this version of David is 37 years and 1 month clean and sober. So
Yeah.
the 18-year-old David, I would have tried to help him get to treatment sooner and find his way to being a whole person. So and by the way, it doesn't have to be chemicals or alcohol that prevents people from being whole. I don't think we were born broken. I don't think we were born ill-equipped, but I truly believe that most of us have some repairing to do that we ignore and desensitize through things like food, social media, alcohol, the list goes on and on and on. So my advice to 18-year-old David would be to do all you can do to become the best version of yourself by being a whole human being without having distractions.
Good one.
Well said. Well said. Respect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you,
Not
Mr.
profound,
David.
but that's it.
No,
That was
no.
pretty profound.
Well, I should have said profound or practical. So that was both, a little bit of
Perfect.
both in there. So what a story. And I know we took, and sometimes I get embarrassed when we take, 30, 45 minutes to tell a 40-year story, but you hit the high points. I mean, you are a miracle, from the guy who was 18-year-old, homeless, addicted, to who you are now as a great dad and granddad and just an ambassador for our industry. So thank you for all you do for automotive.
Thank you. I'm incredibly blessed. I give all credit to God. It would not be happening without that. So
Awesome. David, thank you so much for joining us. Carl, it's always good to see you, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. We'll see you again next time. And remember, be good humans.